There was no rain at all in Cimarron County, Oklahoma in March of 1933. The agricultural agent there predicted that at best, farmers might harvest 4 bushels of winter wheat per acre versus the previous yields of nearly 30. And now the dust storms were becoming more frequent. Instead of the 14 storms of 1932 classified as the worst, there were 38 in 1933. One storm in April lasted 24 hours.
Suddenly you were just engulfed. It was overhead, and you couldn't see the sun, and that's when it was a really bad day. And day after day, it would be that way. Dark, black, scary.
But the ones that were the most terrifying were the ones that were based on these very fine particles that rose up into the air 7,000 to 8,000 feet in this kind of boiling wall of dirt coming at you with gale force, 40, 50, 60-mile-an-hour winds. These are the black blizzards that frightened people so much during those periods.
When one of these dusters would approach from afar and they would see it for the first time, it was like a mountain range, because some cases the storms were 100 miles, 150 miles, 200 miles wide, and a mile or more high. Daylight itself would be obliterated. Someone told me it was like 2 midnights in a jug.
One particularly bad storm we had, it was in the daytime, and it rolled in, and it was so black that you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. So we all gathered in the kitchen, the whole family. We lit the kerosene lamp, and that didn't help very much.
In the times between storms, the farmers and townspeople tried their best to carry on with their lives. But the land they called home was being rearranged before their very eyes.
Oh, just dirt, piles of dirt around anything like the fence rows or something like a plow implement or anything out in the yard. It might be nearly covered up with dirt.
The storms had pushed dried up Russian thistles, tumbleweeds, across the open ground by the hundreds of thousands. Where the dirt and sand hadn't piled up, the land had been swept clean of topsoil.
It was bare, it was hard. You could take a broom and sweep it just like you could a wood floor. It was hard, just like cement.
So you could walk out on your farm, and instead of finding dirt, you found this hard pan layer on the top. Impossible to cultivate. Your dirt would be in somebody else's farm or a county away.
Housewives nurtured their gardens with well water, but the abrasive winds, the shifting dirt, even sometimes the charge of static electricity in the air often killed the vegetables their families were counting on. After surveying the residents of Meade, Kansas, a reporter calculated that the average damage from a single storm was $25 per home. What couldn't be measured, he said, was the loss of disposition of the housewives.
My mother was very clean. Her house was always clean, and she tried to keep us kids clean. She would take all of her curtains down one day and wash them and hang them back up. A dirt storm would come in that night, and they were just like they were before she washed them. And that went on day after day after day. And once in a while, you would hear of some woman that just couldn't take it anymore, and she had committed suicide.
Dust to eat, and dust to breathe, and dust to drink. Dust in the beds and in the flour bin, on dishes and walls and windows, in hair and eyes and ears and teeth and throats, to say nothing of the heaped-up accumulation on floors and windowsills after one of the bad days. This wind-driven dust, fine as the finest flour, penetrates wherever air can go.